Welcome to a new edition of Tom Donahue Reports. Now, Trump says he's ordering the release of grand jury testimony. Big deal. That's not all the files. That's not enough. There's way more. And what happened to the client list that Pam Bondi said was on her desk? She needs to be brought in front of Congress and held accountable. Now, Trump actually savages his MAGA base and says they're lunatics demanding Epstein files release. An Epstein accuser says she told the FBI twice that they should be investigating Trump. Unearthed video of Trump judging teen models goes viral. Epstein's secrets bombshell. Yeah, Epstein's ghost, as this one article states, is haunting Trump. And here's something that's ironic and I mean just confounding to say the least. Amid all the outrage over the Epstein files gate, AG Pam Bondi will be featured speaker at CPAC. Now that part's okay, but dig this. I really shouldn't dig it, but it's just an expression. She's going to be speaking on, this is a summit against human trafficking. Now, there was another thing that came about, that when Bondi was state AG, she had the power to investigate further into the Epstein situation. Now, remember, Epstein had a sweetheart deal, did a little jail time. He'd check in, he'd leave, real minor. I think he got 13 months, and I don't even think he had to stay in a jail cell the whole day, and I think he had a work release. But then the feds came after him, and the prosecutor in the case was Comey's daughter, which they just recently fired. Now, she should be, even if she's not in an official capacity, she should be called. And again, I'm no fan of the Comeys. If she was the prosecutor, she'd have access to quite a bit of information. Now, a former Epstein girlfriend says that Trump and Epstein were very close and up to no good. That was his bro. So until there was some dispute over a property in Palm Beach, and I mean, sometimes so-called friendships do dissipate. Sometimes there's disagreements. They were very close and hanging out, and I mean, if you're seeing all these young girls at all these locations, and he even said, oh, he likes them young, and that's your bro, that's your buddy, your friend. I mean, isn't this sleazy enough? Isn't this just outrageous enough that, yeah, and you got hoodwinked. I mean, I voted for him twice. I didn't vote for him 3 times, and he won 2 out of 3 elections. He didn't win all 3, and it wasn't a rigged election. I've covered all that. So now he's on the attack. They want to go after Obama. They want to go after everybody has to do with the Russia hoax, the Russia gate, sealed dossier, whatever. I don't have a problem with that, but the timing is kind of odd, really odd. Didn't spend the time going after them in the first administration. All of a sudden, they're 6 months in, and now we're covering it. Again, it's all about diversion and distraction. Curious timing. So here was an article that said, could Pam Bondi have prosecuted Epstein when she was Florida's AG, the top legal officer? And this is the Palm Beach Post, and pretty good article. And that was published, I think on the 20th of July. And here was an article from the AP, the Associated Press. This was about 4 days ago. And it says, in their own words, Trump, Patel, Bongino, Bondi on the Epstein scandal. And, I mean, you can go back if you're unfamiliar, unaware. But yeah, this was actually on July 17th, the AP article. You can see the contradictions and the hypocrisy, and you can see that there's absolutely a cover-up here. Well, how about when Bongino had his fallout? It looked like he was having a dispute with Bondi, and it looked like he was going to maybe get forced out, or he was going to leave on his own decision, but he's still there. Now, if Bongino had any courage of conscience, he'd be out of there, and he would come and tell the truth to his audience. And the audience, he still has a podcast, even though he's in government office, and he could very easily have interviews. Besides the fact that maybe he would go in front of Congress, but this enabling this president, and again, are there some policies? Are there some things that are happening that are good? Yes, he gives us some, but he's not an America First president based on this second administration. And he's not a constitutionalist. He's already told us that he'd like to see the Constitution overthrown because of some of the things that happened to him in legal investigations. You can see that he doesn't, I mean, the only rule that Trump follows is his own impulses and urges. and his own demons. This is not a good man. This is not a good person. Has he done good things? Yes. Even the most wicked on the planet have done some good things. Some of them actually treat their dog and their cat and their parakeets really well. And some of them donate and they're charitable and they help homeless. But they can still be, moreover, evil. But I don't know how Trump can slam his past supporters, his MAGA base, MAGA influencers, and just says, what is this fixation with Epstein? What is this obsession with Epstein? And to not understand that you have lied and you have not held up your commitment and your pledge to have these files released. Megyn Kelly calls out Trump supporters blinded by loyalty to the president on Epstein. Loyalty, remember, patriotism and loyalty is not to a person. If the person does not follow biblical principles, constitutional principles, moral, just, doing the right thing, decency, then you have to resist and you have to oppose and expose. But how could any Republican with any decency not want these files released? It's unconscionable. Even the Democrats, again, I know they want to torpedo Trump, tyrant Trump, but they know that there's going to be dirt that's going to come out on some of their beloved people. But they're willing to take that risk, which is good. Joe Rogan breaks silence on Epstein and hammers the Trump administration for lies, and then he, tongue-in-cheek, says, just bomb Iran and everybody will forget. Well, he's basically alluding to the fact that I'm saying that these other things that Trump is doing currently and his administration, they're to distract us. You know, it's to get past this news cycle. He thinks he can bury this like he's buried the bodies of other things that he's done. Everything that Trump says and does is perfect. No mistakes, doesn't acknowledge mistakes, doesn't apologize. I mean, if he came forward and said and explained his situation with Epstein, well, then again, I mean, I still hold out hope that he did not have sexual relations with any of these young girls. Okay, there's no evidence that he has. But why would you fly to the island 7 times? Why would you spend so much time at both mansions? It looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, and I still don't want to say it's a duck. But we know that we're talking about enablers of Trump. He was an enabler of Epstein. He was a co-conspirator because he was aware of even at minimum the appearances of wrongdoing. I mean, any moral, decent, honorable person would never associate with anyone scurvy and scummy and dubious in character. And people want to say, oh, well, it's the Trump policies and, you know, those damn Democrats, those democrats. Well, I mean, we're dealing with pedophilia. We're dealing with sex trafficking. We're dealing with some of the most reprehensible and heinous crimes. This Ghislaine Maxwell, Ms. Maxwell, she's at FCI Tallahassee, and she's been seen walking and jogging on the track and keeping busy there. It's a low security. You know, it's not the most hellacious or the most horrendous federal prisons by any stretch of the imagination, but it's still confinement. There's still razor wire. There's still structure and routine that has to be followed and rules that have to be adhered to. Epstein's brother has been interviewed and said that, and I mentioned that in the previous podcast, that his belief and a medical examiner that looked at Epstein looks more like a homicide than a suicide. We got missing minutes of tapes. We've got liars and concealers at the FBI and the DOJ and the White House. So we can't get to the bottom of what the mystery behind what happened to Epstein. We can't. So we don't know what really happened with that videotape. We don't have the Epstein files. Yeah, we might get some grand jury testimony. We don't have the client list, which Bondi acknowledged. At minimum, there's got to be the black book. There's got to be, you know, financial transactions. And there are many, many legal documents from both cases that should be made public. There needs to be congressional hearings. Some have called for, and, you know, a special prosecutor. And whether it hurts Trump or not, I don't care. I care about the truth. That's what matters. Let things, you know, if there's fallout, there's fallout. I mean, in war, they drop these bombs and they say, oh, it's collateral damage. Well, if Trump's collateral damage, so what? He seems to have more than 9 lives. And Trump continues to defend Bondi no matter what. This blind loyalty that Trump supporters have, the MAGA base, that people that work for Trump, and it goes both ways unless you say something critical of Trump or disagree with Trump. If you're complete blind loyalty, then Trump will go out of his way to do what he can for you. He is loyal that way if you're loyal to him, no matter what. But his bro, terrific guy, his dance partner, a buddy for 10 to 15 years. I mean, it's quoted that Epstein said he was my best friend for 10 years. Best friend. That's like Tucker Carlson, this is true, said that Hunter Biden was one of his best friends. So yeah, there's a lot of strange bedfellows, a shadowy and seedy bunch, this cast of characters. But the pot is stirring. It's percolating. It's about ready to boil over. But I hope those that will stay steadfast, curing these files, getting the truth out there, having hearings. And I don't care whether it's Republicans, Democrats, Independents, whomever gets hurt by this gets hurt by it. All that matters is getting to the bottom line. Government botched this whole thing from the beginning, and the sweetheart deals that happened. Now remember, Trump hired the prosecutor that worked out the sweetheart deal for Epstein from the very beginning. He got rewarded in the first Trump administration. But the Epstein furor continues, and many in the MAGA base are fuming, and Trump basically is saying, I don't effing care about your obsession and your fixation. And Trump calls the guy a creep. Yeah, that creep was your best friend for many, many years. So the MAGA base that's enabled Trump, he did the same thing for Epstein. And when you have Pam Bondi telling 1,000+ FBI agents in a memo if they were to flag all records that mention Trump, is that not the least bit suspicious? Something's not quite right here. But Trump calling people in his base lunatics and losers, admonishing and vilifying those that just want the files released, that want you to be held in account. But the Trump world is being rocked by this, and the Hannitys of the world and the Levins of the world, they can try to give cover, but it's not enough. If you ever listen to the yeller, the screamer, the grovelly voiced broadcaster, Mark Levin, I heard him denouncing and basically calling out these people as being despicable for demanding the release of these files and holding Trump and the administration in account for what they pledged and what their official duty is. So when you see the true colors come out, and I've exposed Hannity and Levin and others in the past, but I've also applauded some efforts on their part and some good information they do give. I'm an honest broker that way. Anyway, we're going to continue hammering this. We're going to be unrelenting. We will be vigilant, and we will not let this be swept away. We will not let this be forgotten. So Tyrant Trump, you can either do the right thing or get the hell out of the way and let us do our job as honest brokers in telling the truth. Till we meet again, Tom Donahue for Tom Donahue Reports in the Briefing. Have a great day.